Welcome to the Enter the Stumiverse podcast. It has been a while. I would like to, before I say something off-putting that makes all two people that are listening turn this off. Thank you for, I believe it's 78 downloads have reached. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. I know it's primarily Sam Slamiel. Go check out his music. I Want to Be Okay was like the feel melancholy hit of the year last year. I will die on that hill, so go listen. But yeah, it has been a while. Trying to navigate modern life as a whole is something that maybe I'm weird for this. I don't really know. Um, it's something that I struggle with a lot for some reason. It, I'm trying to figure out a way to articulate this without coming across bleak, but the modern age that we live in is so different and changing at such a rapid rate that trying to keep up with it is difficult for me. So, I mean, just processing all of the bits of information that are sort of flying at you at a speed like never before is exhausting. Trying to maintain energy, I think, is something that a lot of people are struggling with. Burnout is like huge right now. I would suspect. It's never been so easy to have like all of your responsibilities like in your hand and being able to be contacted about your job, and it's never been easier to be called in and emails and responsibilities, and maybe you have a gas leak. I know I did. That's fixed, but you know, it's all this stuff just happening at once that it's inherently overwhelming, and I think that it burns people out at a rather alarming rate. And it's funny because I wish that I was one of those people intelligent enough to present this problem with some type of solution to go along with it. But I think I myself am not that emotionally savvy enough to come up with an answer. And I do really think that there should be a resurgence of, I don't know if I want to call it philosophy, but everything in such high doses. I wonder if it kind of demeans the meaning of it all a little bit, to the point to where maybe we need somebody who is a voice to guide us and helping keep that meaning alive to things when everything is so finite lately. It's just a thought. So, you know, here we are. I am talking into a microphone, and you know, what is this? What does it mean? Um, I think that maybe in some ways, although that I admit that I don't know what I'm doing in any area of life, I'm just winging it like everybody else. Maybe in the act of doing things is where the actual meaning stems from. So perhaps somebody listening who is struggling with a similar problem will hear something that will sort of help or not, but it's worth a shot because at this point, doing something is better than doing nothing. So I know a lot of people, and maybe it's a problem that comes with age, struggle to maintain day to day life with uh, sort of feeding that creative side of themselves. You know, it's you take care of existence and then you feel too tired to make something. I know, I don't know if it's a mixture of uh, fatigue and depression that has made it like so hard for me to have the energy to do this. I know a couple of weeks ago, I sat down and I went to record. It was when the show hit like 75 episodes, and I sat down to record a thank you, and it was so low energy that it seemed counterintuitive. So I just nixed it, and I know that there's a ton that I am passionate about. I know the older I get, I kind of worry about certain fires dying down and how much of those fires are me, I suppose. I guess what I'm trying to say and stumbling over it is I think that maybe not the passions themselves, but the fire that we have within us is our essence to some degree. So when you get older and you feel tired, you start to feel like an integral part of yourself is dying down. And then you get sort of sad about that because I think for a lot of people, regardless of what you're into, that fire is probably what you appreciate about yourself the most. So when you're tired and you don't feel like you have it in you to get maybe excited about things the way that you used to, I think it requires a level of attention of what excites you and what doesn't. And it may be something completely random. I know, musically speaking, through talking to some friends who I've not spoken with in a while, or listening to podcasts, certain music recommendations have struck me that have been kind of all over the place. And I know that in terms of making things, I go through phases where maybe I feel more into the aspect of playing or trying to write things, and then I hit a wall with that to where I switch to consuming things and trying to sort of make sense of what I'm drawn to being linked to where I'm at as a person, perhaps, that will lead me to make sense of ideas that I have in my head and how to proceed with them in some way, I guess. Um, this is all um, sort of theories, so to speak. But I know, I have been really into sort of quiet things more so. Um, Diving into Talk's later albums, Laughing Stock, and The Spirit of Eden. There's something satisfying about maybe the lack thereof of music, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of layers, and things that are within those albums, but they're all so quiet. And I know um, in December, I got really hyper focused on sort of finishing an idea that I had that was maybe not the heaviest, but sort of appeals to that loud side of me. And it was so exhausting by the end of it that I've just kind of let it be and haven't really worried too much about finishing mixing until I decide where I want it to fit in with everything else. But and moving on to the next idea, and the way that I sort of write is in sections. So I'll have an idea for a section and I'll record that and do my best to add everything that I know that I want to be there to that section to make it seem as whole as possible in that moment. And then I will see how a next section can sort of play around with that. And then after I get all of the sort of skeleton of it, I'll go back and record it all as one continuous thing as much as possible, to give it more of a flow. But I think in the last episode I did a little commentary thing to a very sort of quiet ambient intro. And I guess growing up, there was that era of albums that had, that style of quiet, acoustic, or ambient sort of intro that kind of acted as a prelude to whatever the next song that was going to be, that was similar to that idea but heavier. And I decided that I was going to take that route. So after the ambient sort of thing, it bled into a heavy version of that when I went to do the next part, I think I felt so tired or burned out from all of the loudness that where I ended up going with it was kind of odd, but felt right. And it's almost as if you can hear the moment that my personal burnout sort of started. So what I'll do is I guess I'll go ahead and drop this in and we can talk about it. Okay, so this part contains the last riff from the first ambient idea, but just, generically made sort of heavier. When the rest of the song is written, I'm going to really hammer this part down because, holy shit, it's difficult to play something like that with such high gain. This is also the first track that I've played the drums on versus programming, which has been a lot of fun. So this is the section where I feel like it represents the ways in which I felt burned out pretty accurately. I got so sort of sick with guitar that I decided to try writing the part from the standpoint of a bassist instead, which led to this sort of very low key funk sort of thing because I am very drawn to that, but I feeling very low, not necessarily in a mental capacity of like depression, but feeling so low energy. That's just kind of what came out, and where I go from there has been difficult to sort of pinpoint because for whatever reason I have to know where I stand mentally as a person in that moment before I can kind of feel inspired at all. So where that idea goes, I'm pretty excited about it, as excited as I sort of can be with my stoic um, response to things. But I think there are ways to use whatever you're going through or feeling in moments to your advantage. Or inspiration to the next point in yourself, maybe. So I think identifying where you are or how you feel truly in the moment is the first step. And being honest enough with yourself to just let it happen, and whatever emotion that may be, once identified and accepted, asking yourself how you can use this for the time being to make life as smooth as possible. And you never know what might happen. And that's kind of the fun of it. And this is, in a lot of ways, I think the podcast, although my favorite episodes of this are talking to other people, because something about doing solo shows feels gross to me. It really does. But especially living with someone, like getting a roommate and knowing somebody else is in the house and hearing me do this feels so disgusting. But maybe I have been so confused about so many things in life and the world that in doing this, it's therapeutic in a way, and maybe will make things make sense to me, and probably confuses a lot of people. But if you like confusing sort of train wrecks and don't feel like watching the next whatever movie is out, it's been so long since I've watched movies. I'm sure there's a weird one that people are talking about, but insert that title here. Then yeah, welcome to the podcast. I hope everybody takes care and enjoys your weeks. Enjoys your weeks. Is that proper? I don't know, but I said it, so there you are.